to our lives. It tells about 10 leprous people. Leprosy was a rather common sickness in those days, and basically if a person contracted leprosy, that was it. They were in for a slow and unpleasant death, with their skin and their flesh rotting off. For some reason, somehow they knew that leprosy could be spread by touching other leprous people, and therefore lepers were always put out and away from the rest of the society. And when Christ came into this particular village, there were 10 leprous people standing afar off, and they besieged him to have mercy on them. He said to them to go and show themselves to the priests. And while they were doing this, they were healed. The reason he told them to go and show themselves to the priests was that it was the priests of those times that determined whether a person was leprous or not. So if perchance a leprous person was somehow healed up, the only way he could be accepted back into society was to have the priests of that time examine him and make a decision on that. Now as they went, they realised that they were cleansed, so the Lord had worked a miracle upon them. And one of them ran back, fell at Christ's feet, started to glorify God and to thank the Lord for what he had done. The Lord accepted all this, but then asked, where about the other 9? Why didn't they also come and thank the Lord? It seems to me that this particular passage in the Gospel shows very much also the state of the society that we live in today. The Lord works many miracles upon us, which sometimes we see, but mainly we don't see. And despite all the riches and all the abundance of good things that are poured upon us, the thankfulness to God doesn't seem to be there. Churches are empty. People no longer want to believe the way that has been taught by the Holy Fathers and the Holy Mothers. They don't partake in the sacraments of the Church, the mysteries, and even if they may have been baptised into the Orthodox Church, it's usually some sort of cultural thing that they do and make a bit of a party out of it, and that's it. Now I say this about the Orthodox, but what about all the others? Their churches are so empty that most of them are being turned into other types of buildings, flats, offices, completely demolished. No longer do people come to give thanks to the Lord. This morning when we were doing the prayers before Holy Communion, and we read about from one of the homilies for the day, there was a wonderful passage which said that the Lord, when Adam had sinned and not repented, cursed the earth. And then it said that even though the earth was cursed, those who laboured and those who thanked God and those who strive towards God, the earth would still bring forth to them fruits for their particular needs. This passage always also said that the things that we see, the tsunamis, the earthquakes, the floods, the fires, and all these things which tend to envelop the world, even in these modern times, are not due to some sort of ordinary natural phenomena, but are due to human sinfulness. That homily was written many decades ago, before even the type of things that we see today had occurred. And when you look upon this sort of thing, you indeed see that people sort of go for all these things in the modern world, which God allows, to live a comfortable life, but there's never any thankfulness. There's no thankfulness for what has been given. In the morning and the evening prayers of the church which we have, if you read them carefully, you will see that many of them are to do with thankfulness. In the morning when you wake up, thankfulness for the fact that the Lord has risen you, that you didn't die during the night. Thankfulness that He's given you a new day in which to work out your salvation. And in the evening when you go to bed, the prayers there, especially thank the Lord for the day that He has given us. Thank Him for whatever good things may have come through our life, which has added to our salvific path. That's the way it is if you read those prayers. And if perchance you are stressed, pressed in any way, there are very short prayers for morning and night, and they too focus very much on thankfulness to the Lord. Many people instead use these sort of prayers to ask for things for the day. Ask the Lord to give them this, or give them that, or make this to happen, or make that to happen. But hardly a word, or ever a word, about thankfulness. It says in the Bible that the God that we have is a jealous God. In other words, this God that we have does not expect us to worship at all, any other forms of gods, because all the other forms of gods are demons, which is also written in the Bible. All the gods of the heathens are demons. And in the world today, these demonic gods are forced upon us, both on the adults and especially in the schools. School children are forced to worship and pay homage to demonic gods. Just think of a few weeks ago, this thing about Halloween and what that was about. Just think about it. It was never even known in Australia till about 10 years ago. And people rushed to it with such vehemence. Shops are selling outfits to make people look like demons and witches and warlocks and ghouls and ghosts and all sorts of things. And people pay money for this and walk around the streets and, in a sense, bless with that demonic spirit those places to which they come. It would be good if the people in the streets took a whip to these ones and chased them out and slapped them and got them into order a little bit. And what can you do? You can't say a thing to anybody because that's the way it is now. Returning back to these 10 men that were cleansed, the one that returned to thank the Lord was a Samaritan. And the Lord said, were there not found any returning to give glory to God, except this one of another race? Of another race. My goodness, the Lord is a racist, and the passage would be removed from modern Gospels. It's true, you know. It's true. Many races in the world don't accept Christ, and on the contrary, fight against him and do all sorts of terrible things. But in places like Australia, we are supposed to bear that somehow, incorporate it into our own lives, be accommodating to all this, and have a society which they call all-inclusive. So not only can we include Christian things, but we can include demonic things as well. No problems. Because anything that is not Christian is demonic. That's what the gospel says. All the gods of the heathen are demons. So they have managed to put the Christian faith on the same level as the demons, and maybe even below, because more people are worshipping the demons than they are worshipping Christ. The sad thing is that most of them don't even know that they are doing this. And then they wonder why there are storms, earthquakes, volcanoes, fires, and all this sort of thing. Well, that's what you asked for. That's what the gifts of the demons are to you. It's a grievous thing that we've entered into in this particular century. And as I say to you almost every Sunday, it appears that there is more and more a sort of a rolling accumulation that there will be very shortly a major war. Because people have grown so God-hating, so unloving, not only to each other, or not only to others, but to each other, that something needs to be shaken up, something needs to be happen to bring people back to their senses. A similar situation there was before World War I, and a similar situation there was before World War II, but now it's even worse and far more dangerous on the way that it is. Already in America, the land of the free and the brave, so many people have been killed on account of these demon worshippers. This week we also witnessed similar killings in Australia. These things are only prefigurations of what else is to come. Do you think that all these races of people that they have led into Australia are going to live with some sort of harmony with the Christians? Well, I tell you not. The experiences of thousands of years, of hundreds of years, show you that that is not. Because written into their books of worship and their so-called books of theology are quite plain passages requiring them to destroy anyone that doesn't worship like they do. That's the fact of the matter. We need to be more thankful in our lives and pray that the Lord allows us to somehow escape this horror that's going to fall upon the world very shortly. And I'm sure that by thankfulness, even though our lives might become harder, he will do that, because it is also written that true Christians will endure until the end of times and will see the Lord coming with great glory. God help us that we are not like the 9 leprous men, but like the ones who are from another race, which we are, who come and fall at his feet and thank him for the fact that even our little garden grows tomatoes and all these little things, let alone the big things that happen in our life.